It's shameful, it's scandalous, it's despicable. He abused me, he destroyed my childhood, he destroyed my entire adult life.
After living in silence, this man is finally speaking out. It's a painful but healing process, going over events dating back to the early 80s. At the time, Souleymane, which is not his real name, lived in Kaolack, a large city in Senegal. He studied at the college Pius XII, which was administered by the Canadian missionaries, Brothers of the Sacred Heart. One of them would regularly ask some students to come to what he called one-on-one sex education lessons. Souleymane was 12.
One day he asked me if I masturbated. I said no, because in our culture we're taught that it's not right to do so. He said to me, no, it's not that bad for you. It's good to develop your sexual organ. In fact, let's measure it. He took out a ruler and a piece of string and he wanted me to do the same to him. He said to me, I will measure myself with an erection and without. And when I don't have an erection, you have to help me.
Souleymane claims the sexual abuse continued, getting more physical with each visit. The ordeal allegedly went on for 3 long years. He says he will never recover from what happened. But in 2010, determined to obtain justice and compensation, he found the strength to contact the Brothers of the Sacred Heart in Dakar. The religious community invited him to contact a lawyer, but after a few exchanges, the case collapsed. In Senegal, there's a limitation to how long a crime can be reported after it's happened. The brothers would not take it further.
He didn't contact Brother. Instead, he told me Brother dying. He's in Quebec, so you have to drop it. He really wanted to discourage me.
If what Souleymane says is true, it means certain members of this Catholic congregation could have failed to condemn the paedophile acts of one of its own. We decided to visit the missionary that Souleymane contacted in 2010 with a hidden camera to verify his claims. This man works in a college in Dakar run by the Brothers of the Sacred Heart. He arrived in Senegal in the 1970s. His answers reinforced our suspicions. But as a member of the order, you weren't concerned about whether in Canada they knew what was happening?
Yes, our superiors know. Now they know, but not sure what further action was taken. I think the lawyer at the time said that here there is a limitation period.
But in what way did it prevent you from questioning the brother who's retired and leading a quiet life in Canada to understand what happened? That's what we don't understand.
Well, this is really something for our superiors to answer, how they handle these cases. It's really them you need to speak to.
To find out more, we head to Quebec, where the superiors of the 2 brothers sent to Africa are based. The religious community refused to meet us, but in the meantime we made a discovery. It is a simple Facebook page like billions of others out there today, but in the name of the accused brother. The problem? In 2011, he seems like any other retired man, and his profile picture is a far cry from the image of a dying old man the congregation suggested he was at the time Souleymane made the accusation. The account has been inactive since, but if this man is still alive, he could be living within 150 kilometres of Montreal in the town of Sherbrooke. The Brothers of the Sacred Heart, amongst others, managed this institution until 2014. The town is also home to several retired brothers today. We decided to try our luck with a hidden camera.
Hello. I have a letter for Brother.
Yes, he's here.
I have to give it to him in person, though.
Ah, you have to give it to him personally. That's different. He's upstairs.
If there is no mistaken identity, the missionary is alive. He would be 92 today.
Is he in good health?
Yes, quite good health, but he's handicapped.
Okay.
He struggles to walk. So he gets around in a wheelchair,
Okay.
but for everything else he's fine.
Bonjour.
A member of the congregation accompanies us to his room. When we get to the door, the man we're introduced to is in a wheelchair, but in good shape and cognizant.
Est-ce que je peux parler 2 secondes avec lui? Ouais.
Hello. Are you brother?
Vous avez...
Yes, yes. Would you like to sit down now?
Bien.
Yes, I would. Listen, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm a journalist.
Yes, and?
Vous avez travaillé...
Have you worked in Senegal?
Yes, I worked in Senegal.
For 15 years?
Yes, at the Pius XII College.
Kaolack.
In Kaolack?
Yes.
Voilà. Et on a plusieurs personnes qui sont des adultes aujourd'hui.
Right, so we have several people that are adults today, but who were children at that time, that accuse you of serious sexual abuse.
Avec des témoignages précis.
They give detailed accounts. I'd like to ask you about this. What do you have to say about it?
Vous dites?
But I'd just meet with them to explain what the sexual problem was.
Ben, ils disent justement...
Well, they say that in fact you actually organised one-on-one sexual education lessons,
individuels.
Yes, as well.
Pendant lesquels il y a eu des...
during which there was serious unwanted sexual touching of children, which could go as far as serious sexual assault.
Des vraies agressions sexuelles. Est-ce que vous
Do you
reconnaissez...
acknowledge the acts, sir?
Yes, yes, I acknowledge them.
Against all odds, the brother admits the acts took place, but then tried to justify them.
First of all, they were all willing people that came to meet me. I forced nobody.
Et vous comprenez que l'influence...
But you understand the influence you could have had over children. You were one of the brothers of the Sacred Heart, and it was your influence on them that meant these children assisted in what you called a sex education lesson, which in fact ended in sexual abuse.
Yes, sometimes it could happen. When a student talked to me about feeling uneasy, some asked me to heal them.
No, but now we're not talking about healing. The accounts we have, you are not giving medical assistance to the sick. The testimonies we have speak of real abuse.
In Togo, yes, I went to Togo as well.
After spending 15 years in Senegal, this brother was indeed stationed in Togo. Atakpame is a small town 150 kilometres north of the capital Lomé. Before returning to Quebec, he would have run the missions infirmary for several years at this establishment, which the congregation has directed since 1985. Since the late 1920s, the Brothers of the Sacred Heart have settled in a dozen countries in Africa where, faithful to their vocation, they devote themselves to education. At the peak of their activity, the mission was lauded for the excellence of its teachers, with close to 1,600 brothers across the world, dozens of them in Africa. Madagascar is the first country where the congregation was established in 1928. It is also on this island that the brother started his African career.
And in Madagascar, were there also cases of sexual abuse?
No sexual intercourse.
No, sexual touching, things like that.
Things like that, yes.
And in Togo as well?
No, in Togo I was in charge of healing the students.
But you seem to be confusing healing, sexual education lessons and unwanted sexual touching. Do you understand that this is very serious, sir?
Yes, yes, I admit. I have a lot of remorse. I regret certain things. I didn't think it would go as far as that.
By his own admission, this man could well have performed paedophile acts spanning nearly 20 years in Africa and with complete impunity, although the congregation would have been informed at least since 2010.
Has anyone ever spoken to you about this from inside the Sacred Heart,
What do you mean?
in your congregation?
No one's ever spoken to me about this. You're the first person to speak to me about it.
How did this brother regularly meet with students for private sex education lessons that weren't on the curriculum? Has the order conducted an investigation in Senegal, Madagascar or in Togo after the charges Souleymane brought against one brother in 2010? We contacted the man who would have headed the mission at that time. He refused to meet us and answer our questions. Over the past 20 years, there's been a rising number of reports of paedophilia cases in Quebec involving men of the cloth. The church has long held a prominent role in Quebecois life. In 1950, the province was one of the most Catholic regions of the world. The clergy controlled the education system until the mid-60s and even into the mid-90s in indigenous reserves of some provinces. Some of these religious orders have been implicated in serious sexual abuse cases. Today, the victims of priests are in the hundreds in Quebec and thousands across the country. Gaston Richer is a former pupil of the Brothers of the Sacred Heart. Although he has fond memories of his school years, in his legal career he represented the first person from Quebec to bring a child sexual abuse case against the order. It was 2010. His client, Marcel Rousseau, received a €250,000 settlement for the abuse he claimed took place in the 1960s.
What can you tell us about the case?
Practically nothing, other than the fact that the case existed, because both my clients and myself signed a confidentiality agreement.
Despite the confidentiality agreement, the secrecy, and the out-of-court settlement, the case hit the headlines. More people claiming to be victims of sexual abuse by members of the Brothers of the Sacred Heart contacted Richer.
I'd say there was about a dozen. It really surprised me. Everyone was of a similar age, from across Quebec, from all over. But the only client where the case was opened and then settled was that of Marcel Rousseau. And that's all I can say about that.
Visiting his parish is now, for Gaston Richer, a troubling experience. As a practicing Catholic, he finds it difficult to come to terms with how some members of the Brotherhood are hiding their past behind the statute of limitations.
I must say that this is the community that taught me, and I had excellent teachers. But in the gospel, it's odd. I don't see anything about the statute of limitations. When a sin is committed, especially towards a child, how can you invoke the law to try and get out of it? Especially when you've admitted to the act. It's unspeakably disgusting.
In Quebec, the Brothers of the Sacred Heart are currently facing another scandal. 11 of their members are alleged to have abused dozens of pupils over a period of 3 decades. This time, the order has already raised the possibility of out-of-court settlements, but also of a challenge to the class action filed in October.
The church isn't without means. It's very rich. It's quite capable of creating a legal storm to defend indefensible actions and guilty priests. And behind that, there are the decisions by the religious authorities. The bishops are willing parties in these decisions.
The Vatican may also have questions for the order. Like his predecessor, Pope Francis vowed to battle church sex abuse cases. He pledged zero tolerance for those guilty of sex crimes, as well as any of their superiors who didn't expose their crimes.
I humbly beg your pardon. I also ask for your forgiveness for the sins of omission committed by church leaders.
In June, the Pope created a special commission to try the accused. Back in Senegal, Souleymane is hoping that his case may soon be heard. He's linked up with an American association which helps victims of priest abuse and is considering bringing his case to a Canadian court too.
I can't just give up because it's a question of morality. My spirit will be set free when I know that the guilty are behind bars or have paid for their crimes, whoever they are, whatever they've done. Because brother is a criminal.
As is happening in Quebec, Souleymane hopes that his story might encourage other victims from Africa to come forward and join him in his search for justice.
Our report from Freddie Giro and Sarah Sacco. If you're affected by anything in this report or you'd like to comment, please email us at reporters@france24.com. That's reporters@france24.com. This is Reporters on France 24. Do stay with us.